for Best Music Coach. My name is Dan, and you are watching a music teacher's reaction live and in real time to the Devil May Cry 5 original soundtrack. Now, I've never heard this music before in my life, and I've also never played this game, so everything I do, say, and talk about is going to be, well, off the top of my head in the moment. And as you can tell, we are live because I'm saying things like day instead of say. Welcome, chat. So glad you're here joining me on this adventure. This is part 3 of this Devil May Cry 5 original soundtrack. We're going to check this out. We're going to start with How Do You Like This Dante mission. Let's check it out. Okay, so obviously something new. I think what is interesting is we heard really sort of 3 things. We heard that intro bit, then things got very unsettling with the notes that were being used, especially in the guitar. We had this real feeling of, uncertainty, unsettled, this sort of thing. And then in the second, it was like thirds. It was like one of those. You know when you get those ice cream things and it's like chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry? And for everyone living outside of the US who only has vanilla, well, I mean, like, I don't know about that, but like I've been to Europe and like the ice cream choices are not like they are here. Anyway, besides the point, yeah, and then in that third part, it's like a little bit rock, the metal, that guitar solo thing. So I think what's going to be interesting to see is in this disc 3, it starts off with a 3-part piece of music, and perhaps we're going to hear pieces of music that fall into those 3 categories of things. So the first was kind of this ambient thing. The second was unsettling. The third was rock/metal. And interesting, we didn't hear any dubstep in this, so I wonder if we'll be having any of those dubstep influences as we go forward. The next one is called The World is Screaming, version 1. I scream, you scream, we all. Here we go. I love the rhythm from the strings. We heard quite a lot of that in Ace Combat 7. And so what's happening is the strings oftentimes are just hanging out on one note. But it's, oh, beautiful. Oh, beautiful. I mean, it sounds a little bit like right there, those high arpeggios sound like, is that Winter by Vivaldi? Or is it Fall by Vivaldi? Or it has that really sick violin solo in it. I'm not saying that high minor arpeggios on a violin are mutually exclusive to that, but having that high, one of Vivaldo from Quattro Stagioni, the Four Seasons. Oh goodness. So I was immediately disproven my theory of they're going to be 3 different sort of things we were going to hear in this third disc that started off with a 3-part piece. It's nice. It sounds really cool. Not reality though. As we get here from this first piece, driven a lot by the strings being violin, viola, cellos, and acoustic, basses, upright basses, contrabasses, however you would like to call them. One of the interesting things throughout this piece was how even when certain strings were not sort of playing the melody, they were really holding down a lot of the energy through repetition and through repeated rhythms. So even right there, bum, 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 bum. Yeah. And then creating this, it's almost like looking at like a mountain range of what's happening just within the strings themselves, because you have one string playing here, strings playing here, and then how all those rhythms overlap and intertwine. That's really what makes that piece, I mean, so exciting to listen to, and that's what gives you that feeling of energy. It's this overlapping rhythms and everything working together. This next one is called Subhuman. I'm going to specify the version. It's called Game Edit. Let's check it out. Come on. Come on.
As I stare into the eyes of the coming apocalypse, I see them reaching for my soul. I cannot erupt. I must control. I cannot erupt. I must explode. But the other mind tries to sink me deeper as the evil tries to turn me around. I will not falter. Shout at the devil as I bury them 6
Yeah, dubstep. Come on. So that was a pretty heavy song. Now, while this song was playing, I actually ran a poll asking everyone who's watching during the live if they are a Lamb of God fan. And we had 63% of people answer yes, they are a Lamb of God. Now, if you're wondering what Lamb of God has to do with this, Lamb of God is actually a band that makes music that is, well, honestly, kind of similar to this. In my opinion, maybe I prefer Lamb of God to this, but it's like it's in that similar vein, like really, really heavy guitars, and then that sort of really aggressive sort of scream sound on top of it with vocals. So I think what's interesting here is to hear that type of music being mixed again with dubstep sounds. That wobbly bass creates for such an interesting soundscape that I have not heard outside of Devil May Cry, and I'm hoping we get to hear a little bit more because, gosh, it is so cool every time it comes around. Let's run to our next one, which is called The World is Screaming version 2. Welcome to everyone joining us. Interesting piano sound too. Lots of low end taken out of it. Building the riff now. Now we're hearing that similar thing the strings were doing a couple songs ago. They're holding the rhythm down on one note. Oh yes, because we heard The World is Screaming. No, duh. I'm remembering The World is Screaming. Version 1. Okay, so one thing I want to point out here is the use of octaves. Now, we can hear dom bum 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 ba dum. We hear that riff, right? I'm going to call it a riff, or we call it a gesture, whatever. And right there, you hear the difference there? How there's that higher thing on top of it. So it's two different notes, but they kind of match. And those notes are called octaves. And so we heard that sort of gesture, that idea the first time, and then the second time we heard it with an octave up. Now, if any of you are into producing or writing your own music, you can always do that as a little tool for, well, building excitement or reusing the same idea, presenting again and making it feel a little different. just add an octave on top or on the bottom. You can hear singers like David Bowie go into choruses and actually put an octave down on their vocals as opposed to an octave up. But David Bowie's kind of the exception that proves the rule. Super creative. If you look at artists like David Bowie, Lady Gaga, just hyper creative artists, both inside of music and outside of music, just the way they dress, all that good stuff. Really cool. This next one is called Pitch Dark. Let's check it out. Well, here's the creepy part. Creepy. Creep me, you creepy. And there, so we're hearing recycled motifs from The World is Screaming. We hear bom bom bum gom baga gum with different notes. Same idea then. Okay, yeah. Okay. All right, so really interestingly, okay, we're actually hearing things coming out of The World is Screaming and now being used in other songs. So in Pitch Dark, we heard om bom bum gom bugga gom, which was an idea from The World is Screaming, but we heard it with different notes, but with the same gesture of like low to high notes, different notes, same rhythm. And then right here at the end, with the strings we're doing bugga dugga dugum, bugga dugga dugum, we're hearing that now done again, but with voices. Yeah, right there. So we actually hear the shugga-dugga-dungum in the strings, in the violins and violas, perhaps the cellos, in both The World is Screaming 1 and 2. So let's look out for those two little, we'll just call them motifs for now. They might be leitmotifs, but I don't know because I don't know if they're associated with the person, place, or thing. So we'll call them motifs. We're going to keep our ears sharpened and on the lookout for those two themes coming back, because as soon as we've seen a composer reuse a theme once, they might reuse it again. So let's take a look at for the rest of Disc 3, and if we remember in Disc 4 and 5, to see those themes, well, those motifs from that theme, reused and changed and flipped around and just creatively expounded upon. Let's check out Disgust. Oh, ba 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 ba. We just heard major third there for a moment, if I'm not mistaken. Which we heard all the way in disc 1 2 times. We heard those little major thirds dropped in there. It's a dangerous place to go along. Take this OST. Ah! My goodness. I really hope you're reading the chat because that was really funny. Someone says, Dan looks like an NPC about to give you a quest. So I wrote, oh, help me. Oh, help. Please help. My brother hasn't been home in 2 days. He said he was going to the Southern Road. Zaikaze then says, it's dangerous to go alone. Take this OST. That's hilarious. That is really, really honestly funny. Hey, I gotta be honest with you. I got so caught up with that really funny stuff going on in chat. I don't have too much to say about what we just heard, other than it was kind of atmosphere. And let's go to the next, which is called Voltaic Black Knight Introduction, which goes straight into Voltaic Black Knight. So I'm just going to let it play through both, and then I'll talk after track number 8 of this third disc. Record playing game. Oh, interesting. sounds like brass in there, not doubling that. Like second riff that's happening right now. It's like two riffs happening on top of each other, right? Okay. A couple really interesting things there. So it got really heavy, but also like a lot of the heavy songs we heard so far in this OST, it had this pop element to it. So when it went to the chorus section, well, what would be the chorus if we'd had a singer instead it was a guitar playing the melody, it really did feel, well, quite sort of rock pop. Could have been something on the radio in like, I don't know, 2000s, 2005, something like that. There was a lot of stuff with that kind of thing. Anyway, and that's really my high level comment on this song is that beautiful transition of how heavy the sort of verse sections were, and then going into that beautiful, beautiful poppy chorus. On top of that, that same exact tool that we heard being used in both the World of Screaming version 1 and World of Screaming version 2, where you had the strings sort of being dugga-dugum, jigga-jigum, but I don't remember what it is now. But you had one part of the strings holding down a set rhythm with like one note, maybe two notes, maybe three notes, but having this repeated pattern and then other things happening on top of it. We heard that same technique, that same tool being used here as well when we had the really low guitar just going or whatever it was doing, and then on top of that having that second riff. So it's almost like two things happening at the same time, and it's the juxtaposition between those two things happening at the same time that really creates the sound and really gives it the feeling. This next one is called It Becomes Cavaliere. Okay, It Becomes Cavaliere. Let's check out It Becomes Cavaliere. Okay, that was an interesting little thing. You know what that's like? That's like the appetizer at a restaurant. If you've ever been to an Italian restaurant and they bring you out some fresh hot bread with some olive oil that, okay, now here's where it really gets tricky, right? Because sometimes they bring out olive oil and it doesn't have any Parmesan or salt in it. It's like it's really good olive oil. And the whole point is that like the olive oil is so good, you just have it with the bread. But I gotta be honest with you, even when the olive oil is amazing, having some cheese, like some Parmesan grated into that olive oil, that's really up my alley, man. But that's exactly what that was like. It was a little amuse-bouche. I'm very interested to hear what happens next. This one is called V's Beginning. Let's check it out. I'm not quite sure what they were saying there. Sounded to me like "Qu'est-ce que c'est beau, on va sortir," which is not grammatically correct. So I'm pretty sure it's not French. Probably Latin. Whenever people want to be dramatic, they tend to put vocals in Latin because, well, it just sounds very dramatic. Again, this seems to me to be like we have quite a few songs coming up that seems like they're under 2 minutes. So I have a feeling that a lot of these are going to be kind of like what we just heard. It's incidental music. It's behind something. It's giving context to something. So what I think I'll do is the next 2 songs are both under 40 seconds. So I'm going to let them play through and then maybe talk about the difference between the two. Let's check it out. This one is called Dance with Cavaliere. Cavaliere. Yeah, exactly. Sephiroth. Oh, that was sick. Okay, so in Dance with Cavaliere, we heard this is Dance with Cavaliere. I thought we were going to hear like a waltz. We sure didn't. That was a beautiful riff. I'd love to hear that riff come back again. That was awesome. This next one is called Breakneck Predator. Really just sort of more sound effects. So we're just going to jump to the next one, which is called Legacy Instrumental Version. Let's check it out. See, this is what I thought Dance with Cavaliere was going to be. In a contrapuntal style, if you will. Well, not really contrapuntal, but you know what I mean. So this song is in 3/4. Oh. So a beautiful piece. Something that was very interesting was the way we heard the time being played, which we've not heard a lot. About this OST where things slow down just a moment, then they're back, or they speed up for just a moment, and then they're back. We heard it a couple times with these little breaths where the whole ensemble, that means ensemble is everyone playing at the same time, was like, they took a breath and then they went into it. And literally, sometimes what you do is you take a breath and then you keep playing there. So really beautiful, playing with time. First time I think we've heard in this entire OST them really play with time. This next one is called Birthplace. Huh. almost connected to Legacy. Reharmonization, played on the piano. Oh, now something totally different. This is still the same song. Okay, I'm gonna guess what's happening here. It sounds to me like, okay, I'm gonna give you my theories one at a time. Theory number one is a character is returning to their birthplace that they have fond memories of, only to find it destroyed or somehow vandalized. Part of the hero's journey is while the hero's away, home falls apart, and then they come back just like the hobbits with the Shire and everything. Second option is someone was already in the destroyed place and they knew it was destroyed, but they were just having a recall moment of remembering their childhood there, and then they came back to it. But are either one of those theories close to what is happening there? Or am I totally off? While we wait for chat, this next one is called The Demon's Face. Theory 2 is spot on. Fantastic. It's the Final Fantasy thing again. Oh, listen. Final Fantasy 7 coming at you for the second time in this OST. And there it is again. Huh. Straight into the next one, Unwavering Bravery. Okay, so very interesting because I think if I'm not, I may be mistaken here, but I feel like this is kind of the most like Final Fantasy-ish sounding one we've heard in a while, in the sense that the rock guitar or the metal guitar, as the case may be, was not really a driving force. We didn't have any dubstep here. This seemed a much more kind of straightforward. I'm assuming this is a boss fight because it sounds very dramatic. But very interesting to hear this change from everything pretty much that we've heard up to this point. This next one is called 0000, as in the time code for the start of something, by Kota Suzuki. Let's check it out. Huh. So another piece where, again, it's kind of this sort of cutscene type music where there isn't a lot going on in terms of what's being presented in terms of musical ideas. I did find it very interesting to hear this transition between this sort of atmosphere thing going on here, that then it turns into this. And what's interesting too about the mix here in this second sort of, well, we'll call it the last third of the song, is the use of, if I'm not mistaken, some electronic elements in the background mixed in with the orchestra to give it a not more full, but like this kind of shinier sound. Not shiny as in like high-end shiny, but it's kind of this floaty, more airy kind of quality. This next one is called Dr. Faust. So some interesting connections. We've seen Dante. Of course, Dante wrote Dante's Inferno. And Dr. Faust, Faust was someone who made a bargain with the devil. And if I'm not mistaken, Faust was in Dante's Inferno. Anyway, let's check out Dr. Faust. And so the whole thing was, you know how like in the book of Job, God and Lucifer make a wager that, God could punish Job as much as he wanted to, and he would never like forsake God. Like that was the whole thing. It was like this contest, like see how committed Job was. A little masochistic, but hey, that's how the story goes. And that sort of idea of the bargain, you can also see a lot. People call it a devil's bargain. You hear Robert Johnson says he goes down to the crossroads to make a deal with the devil. And so whether you believe in this metaphysical idea of an actual entity in the devil, or whether you look at it from the perspective of you are making a deal with yourself or with a darker part of yourself to do things you wouldn't do otherwise, it's interesting to see these characters being brought up in this piece of music in terms of deals being made with, well, darker things. Let's check out Dr. Faust. This was not at all what I was expecting. Like straight up fun. Well, that was fun. All right, this next one is called A Piece of Cake. Huh. Yes, our stutter coming back for, I believe, the first time this entire third disc. Oh, and a direct transition. So hang on, we're going to talk about Piece of Cake for a moment. So in Piece of Cake, which, by the way, sorry, I didn't announce because I think it has a seamless transition from Dr. Faust. I think what's really interesting is listen to the sound at the end. It sounds kind of like bubbles. Here it is. It kind of sounds like that. Really interesting sound. I'm honestly not sure how they made that. This next one is called Same Old, Same Old. Let's get after it. There's so much going on just in the basses underneath all this. So in same old, we can hear the guitar doing, well, some of the same old that we've been hearing it do for a little bit, which is sort of hanging out, doing one idea over and over again, and everything else happening on top of it. Now, at the beginning of this song, there's so much going on in the bass. Oh my gosh, that you could just completely walk by and not even hear if you don't have headphones on. Because if you don't have headphones on, you might not even be hearing what's going on here. Oh my gosh. Like, man, if you don't have headphones, you're missing so much. By the way, put some headphones on when you listen to this. This next one is called Sick. So you know, the use of harmonics, high notes, trying to make it sound really, really kind of creepy and off kilter and unsure of what's going to happen next. And let's see what does happen next. This next one is called Three Gosh Darn Hags. Let's check it out. Very dark and spooky bass here. There's no way this is a boss fight. This has to be a cutscene, right? I'm assuming we're meeting 3 hags, which are kind of like the Norns or the Fates. Isn't it wild how many different cultures have the idea of the 3 hags in them? It's kind of crazy. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, Cerberus, 3 heads. I see what you're saying. Interesting. Huh. And I suppose if you think about, and again, this is pushing it, but if you think about Brahma having three faces, right? And having the sort of the trinity of the Hindu culture. So Brahma creates, Vishnu sustains, Shiva destroys. It's interesting. This sort of 3 thing that humans we seem to come up with wherever we go. This one is called Faded Tone G. And then, of course, the Christian Trinity, too. Like, the idea of 3, but 1, you know? So interestingly enough, this song is called Faded Tone A in the key of F sharp minor, which is, well, was in the key of F sharp minor, the relative minor of A major. I'm gonna let it play straight into Faded Tone C, and then I'll give my comments on the Faded Tone series. Again, F sharp minor, so I don't think the G, A, and C have anything to do with the key.
Let the beat drop.
Now A minor. Okay, so what was interesting is, well, we've heard a lot of dubstep, which is a subgenre of the sort of umbrella genre of EDM. EDM is electronic dance music. Now, what we heard in both faded tone G, A, and C were other elements of dance music that you could hear in, I've heard those elements in everything from techno to like synth pop, which are all subgenres of EDM. So I think it's interesting to hear a sort of dance-inspired sound, but without that wobbly dubstep bass that we've heard throughout a lot of disc 1 and 2, but only once and maybe twice here in disc 3. So obviously there's many songs, there's many different colors, many different genres being pulled from for inspiration here. But very interesting to hear this new sort of feeling and new genre of EDM being explored here with faded tone G, A, and C, which I believe is General Anakin Chocolate is the correct term for that. Anyway, this next one is called Critical Moment. So it sounds like another cutscene. A lot of high drama here. What makes it so dramatic is, well, a couple things. Number one, it's the speed. Number two, it's the tremolo in the strings. And what a tremolo is when you play the same note or multiple notes over and over again very, 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 very fast. So you can hear here, but there's going very, 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 very fast. Another thing that ups the ante and makes this feel, well, so critical, if you will. It's like right under that. So under the you hear this tremolo going on underneath it. So that tremolo it creates tension. So you feel the tension happening throughout the piece of music. And of course, we had that. Where was that modulation? Yeah, I mean, things like this, which is a combination of strings and woodwinds. Just creates a lot of tension. This next one is called Hellish Gimmick. Let's check it out. Oh yeah, here's our stutter back again. Come on. Let's go now.
What? Let's go now.
Boom. That modulation. Boom. It's like Dory speaking whale from Finding Nemo. I don't know if this is the right crowd for that example, but you get it. I'm like, do you guys like Lamb of God? Yes. So you know that movie Finding Nemo. Sounding a lot like Disc 1 here. We talked about this a lot in Disc 1, this kind of sandpaper sounds, like driving a car over gravel. Okay, so actually I have an interesting thing to talk about after this. Okay, so what I want to point out here is that one of the main musical ideas in Hellish Gimmick that we heard was now, the notes we're using there are 1, 5, and 6, and because we're using minor, it's going to be flat 6 or lowered 6. Now, what we heard in Disc 1 was so Hellish Gimmick, and there's this whole idea, at least in Christianity, of the devil inverting things, and the whole idea is that it's evil is inherently the sort of the upside down, if you will, a Stranger Things idea concept there for you. It's like the inversion of things is somehow corrupting them or making them evil or making them bad. And so I think what's interesting here, this is called Hellish Gimmick, and we heard an idea previously, which was 1, 6, 5, 1. Wrong key. 1, 6, 5, 1. And what we're hearing now is 1, 5, 6. But it's inverting it both by interval. The order of the notes. So it's going 1, 6, 5. It's going 1, 5, 6. Then it's also inverted in a second way, in that instead of going up for 1, 6, 5, it's going 1, 5, 6. It's going down for 5 and 6. That's below the one which, in and of itself, if you think of the upside down, is an inversion. So, some interesting connections there. This next one is called Diabolical Incantation. This is very dissonant. You know what they're saying?
I'm so hungry, feed me chicken.
I love that dubstep thing in there. Oh! Alright. I'm gonna break this down. Okay, so many things make this feel, well, diabolical. Number one, the singing being slightly out of tune with the strings. Number two, having that deep sort of chanting sound with the accompanying vocals on top. There's so many things going on in this just to make it dissonant, just to make it very, well, frottant. What's the word? Friction. A lot of friction. Perhaps we're going to have an even more frictionful version. Next up is Diabolical Incantation Chaotic version. So let's see what happens here. Oh my goodness, those drums are bit crushed. Oh my gosh. Oh, this is chaotic. Okay, hear me out on this. Have you ever been to a... Okay, so, have you been to, a Korean restaurant that also does Japanese sushi? And at that Korean restaurant where they do Japanese sushi, they have those specialty rolls where it's like you get a shrimp that's wrapped in fish, that's wrapped in rice, that's wrapped in nori, that's wrapped in more fish, that's covered with vegetables and like salmon roe and like sauces, and then the whole thing is deep fried, and then on top of that is more fish and crab, and it's like, what am I eating? That's kind of like exactly what this piece makes me think of. It's like the sushi roll that went too far. If you know what I mean, it's like it's the sushi roll that went too far. It like had so much going on in it. It truly was a chaotic experience. That was wild. Let's listen to our last one for today, which is called Reckoning. Before we do that, I do not run ads. I did not stop any time during this, so I'm just going to ask you for one thing. If you are a gamer and you'd like to understand more about music theory, there's a course that I made for you to be able to read, write, understand music, and break down 10 awesome game themes. That is in the description. Go check it out. I think you're going to love it. It's phenomenal. It uses my music theory book, which went #1 bestseller on Amazon. You actually get a free copy of the book with the course and a bunch of other amazing bonuses. So go check that out. This next one is called Reckoning. Ooh. Wild. Okay, so one more piece we had here at the very end with, again, this kind of sound effects thing going on where it's clearly giving context to something else going on. But for now, please hit like, subscribe, crush that notification bell. If you are a gamer, you'd like to understand more about music theory, there's a course that I made literally for you to help you understand, and not just understand, but read and write music. So go check that out. That is in the description. You get a free copy of my book. You get a free workbook. You get free quizzes. You get free, what else do you get that's free in that? Free examples, video examples. You get free flashcards. There's so much that you get. You get everything you need to succeed. So go check that out. All right. Let's read some super chats. Blarfingar says, please do the 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim soundtrack. It's absolutely incredible, and the game deserves to get more publicly, criminally underrated. You got it. DNM says, you know what time it is. Putting this towards Kingdom Hearts 2 again, slowly but surely getting it up to where it belongs, along with the other Kingdom Hearts games. You got it, DNM. Rubman202. Hey, Rubman202. Rubman202 says, a shame you do only video game OST reactions. I would have loved to hear your thoughts on OST for the Spooky Month cartoons. Instead, I'll once again put this towards Cuphead and its DLC. You got it for Cuphead, Rubman202. Angelis Dry. No. Jellicle Dry. Like icicle. Dry. Says, get a sense of support you way while I'm on break. Ooh, have fun on break. Put this towards the chat favorite Mibibli's quest. Everyone loves Mibibli, even if they don't know it. Slowly but surely. You got it. Excellent. All right, thank you all so much for coming to hang out. Thank you for joining me on the stream. I will see you next time for part number 4. See you there and see you then. Take care and goodbye.